What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and we're doing another anniversary release. This one's gonna be a weird one. Uh, this is this is a weird one. It's Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and yes, it came out in 1994. It's the 30th anniversary. This is a film that has run its course. It does have audio description. We'll talk about it, but I need to talk about the fact that in addition to being a blind film critic, I'm also a gay film critic and a part of GALECA. So my opinions on Ace Ventura: Pet Detective have evolved ever since I don't know, got past the age of 11 when I first saw this film. And 11 in 1994, I wasn't thinking about a lot of what this film was doing, saying, or any of the jokes. Uh, Honestly, at 11, I wasn't even thinking about too much about sexuality in general. I enjoyed my childhood, and my parents kept me pretty into like cartoons and stuff. And it wasn't really until like 10 where I started watching films that were made for not kids. I watched like I've been trying to go through it in my head and be like, what did I see before I was 10? And like I had one friend that snuck me his VHS copy. Like he snuck it out and we watched it at his house of Terminator 2, and it like scarred me. Because when everything else you watch in your life is like Looney Tunes and like the Disney Channel cartoons and Nicktoons and Saturday morning cartoons, and your movies are all like the Disney movies, and then all of a sudden you're fucking watching Terminator 2. It's like, what is this? What is happening to me right now in this moment? Um, but I think around the same time I also saw Jurassic Park, so I was starting to get ready for big boy movies. You know, I was starting to move away from needing my films to be of a certain thing, but I'm incredibly nostalgic because I had that experience of actually understanding what it was like to enjoy things that were made for kids. Before, you know, I wasn't like the 5-year-old who's watching Saw, you know, and then they can't understand what a kid's film is. And they think it's dumb because they're like, well, I've seen Saw and I'm 5, so I'm ready for anything. You know, bring it. Uh, Parenting, guys, it's everything. So, yeah, Jim Carrey in 1994 for Ace Ventura was silly and goofy, and uh, it worked. You know, it made me laugh. And then, of course, I would later see, just a couple years later, Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. I'm still in an immature age, not thinking about anything. I laughed during that movie. I like Jim Carrey's stuff. I don't think Ace Ventura or The Mask are my favorite films of his. I think what I'm thinking about his sort of peaking in terms of just sheer comedy, Liar Liar, stands out to me as being when when he merged actual like filmmaking, plot, script, story with his comedic talents. When it wasn't just like such a so reliant on him being like a rubber man, just stretching his face and talking out of his butt, and you know what I'm saying, like the humor in Liar Liar just feels different. uh, and of course then after that we have Truman Show, which is phenomenal, which he should have gotten an Oscar nomination for. Or I mean, that, Man of the Moon, Eternal Sunshine, this man should have at least one of those three should have been an Oscar nomination. So, uh, yeah, surprisingly good actor, but Ace Ventura is a hot mess if you're a part of the LGBT community. It is, uh, I don't know, it's phobic of everything. It's deeply, this is a weird watch. And the funny thing is, even before this, I kind of remember watching this like 10 years ago and thinking, this isn't as funny as I remembered it. It's kind of how, and I'm not gonna say I don't like Billy Madison, but I remember loving Billy Madison when it first came out for Adam Sandler. And then Adam Sandler did more movies. And now when I look back on films, Billy Madison is still, because Adam Sandler has made some truly fucking terrible movies, not at the bottom, but it's not at the top either. It's kind of slid down, and not because of transphobic or anything like that, or homophobic or any comments that he's making in that film, just simply because he got better as an actor, like as a screen presence. People started writing better films for him. He's even better immediately after that in Happy Gilmore. So, but then you get into like The Wedding Singer. I mean, like he peaks a little bit after that, and his characters, his roles, his connection to the characters, his understanding of being on camera gets better. And with Jim Carrey in this, he's also doing like The Mask at like the same time. It's really early for him to take the lead role in these films. They're not his first films. I realize I've seen Earth Girls Are Easy. So I'm not saying that this is his first film. I realize it's not, but this is like his first leading. This and The Mask, coming out the same year, were his chance to lead, and unfortunately, this one absolutely does not stand the test of time. Um, you've got Courtney Cox, who has such an interesting early Hollywood story, with her roles and everything, and a lot of things that she auditioned for, she wasn't the first choice for. But she's in this, and Sean Young, who Blade Runner, sort of an iconic actress who has a very troubled history. If anybody ever wants to look into it, probably because she played a man in a film. I would think maybe that's part of it, but I don't know. It could be deeper than that. Um, and I think she played a man more than once. I don't know why we kept. Sean Young was a beautiful actress. I don't know why she kept. I think, if I remember correctly, she's in Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde, which is also incredibly problematic when you think about it. But yeah, where like Steven Weber becomes like his alternative personality is Sean Young. So weird. Um, but Ace Ventura, there was like a cartoon. They even did the little kid became Ace Ventura years later, in like a straight to video movie. So, but I can't with these jokes. Like the whole like last half of the film. Do some of the jokes still work? Yes. Some of the stuff is objectively funny, and it is. There are ways where you could take this film and you could TikTok it basically, and I feel like everybody can still love it. Like we can TikTok parts of this film, and they're absolutely hilarious. The part where he does the door, which is sort of an iconic moment from the movie, where he stands outside and he just holds like he's belting this note this whole time. It's like and the door keeps like shutting. Like he opens and shuts the door to prove that the door is like soundproof, um, meaning that the scream couldn't be heard. Uh, Otherwise, is he does it with such conviction and commitment, which is what Jim did for most of his jokes. But I kind of wonder, in this day and age when Will Ferrell is openly saying, "I regret doing the Janet Reno joke," I wonder if Jim regrets a lot of. I wonder if he regrets parts of this movie that have not aged well. Um, there's just a lot. He has like a whole sequence where after he realizes that Sean Young is a man, that uh, I mean, he basically just he does everything except for like short of peeling the skin off of his body and like regrowing new skin, you know, um, to try to erase that from his thing, and all she did was like kiss him once in a scene, like, and then everybody else also has an incredibly visceral reaction to the experience later on when it comes up. Anyway, Yeah, so not great, and I kinda hated watching that again. I knew it was coming, but I was like, "Well, I wanna talk about it. I wanna talk about 1994. What's the point of being, in a, LGBT film critic group?" And as a blind film critic, now that I can watch this film has audio description. Audio description does a pretty good job of describing he has such physical comedy in this film. I've seen it a couple times, like, throughout the years. I think I saw it a lot up front as as a youth. Some of these films I saw a lot in their time period. I might have had this on VHS or something like that back in the day, along with, films of its ilk, like Billy Madison and Tommy Boy. And yes, I absolutely did watch like that kind of film back during that period. Felt like they were aimed at my generation, and my friends were watching them, and we watched these movies. Um, but I do remember, even before losing my vision, I saw Ace Ventura, like, on television or something like that. I wanna say maybe around probably 2012, 2013, 2014, or something like that. It had been a while then, and I was like, "Oh, Ace Ventura," and it was so weird to watch it again because I feel like I'd seen Jim Carrey grow up, and then to see him do this was just it didn't feel as funny as it once was. Some of the jokes, hilarious. He's got a couple jokes in here that work and will always work. But as a cohesive film, it's really tough to get through. And then when you get into the final act of the movie, it just becomes like, I would like to turn this off now. It has not aged well. And especially when I start identifying um as a gay film critic, it doesn't this film does nothing for me anymore. So I could, like I said, I we could cut parts of this out and put it on TikTok, and then that can be the legacy of Ace Ventura. But I kind of wish the rest of the film would go away. There are a couple gags that he has here that are funny, and that's it. That's all I want to keep, and then just jettison the rest of it away. um, I'll say, in terms of the audio description, my favorite moment in the audio description, along with the moments of Jim Carrey, was it's the moment where he comes into his apartment and every like the fucking Noah's Ark of apartments. Just like everything comes out of him from everywhere. He has so many like a variety of animals, just and creatures and reptiles and amphibians, and he has so many animals in his apartment that just come out of nowhere, and he's just standing there with his arms open and embraced. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is 1994. They're not CGIing those animals, and he's being swarmed by like the animal actors that they must have used, and to keep these animals from like not attacking each other. I'm thinking this is a way more complex scene than we're thinking it is, because I don't think they spent a lot of money on animatronic animals for this. And also, this was not a CGI animal sequence. So somehow they put everything into this room and nothing killed themselves or killed each other or whatever. And they all just kind of it magically just paid off somehow. But I think that scene still works for me, and the door scene. There are a couple jokes that he has that are funny, uh, that are just quick responses to things. But at a certain point, it's just like just turn the movie off. Like pretty much when you reach like the halfway point, it's just you can tap out. This movie isn't even that long. It's like an hour and 18 minutes long, so you can tap out. You just yeah, don't even bother. Um, uh, I don't know. I'm sure some people out there are gonna be like, this is a woke review, and it's like it's just uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to watch nowadays because it's not even just it's I'm not transgender. It's not just making me feel uncomfortable like on behalf of other people, but it's the reaction to having kissed another guy, which is part of who I am, and his reaction is a bit much. I don't expect like everybody, like straight people, to be like, oh well, that's, you know, great. I mean, there are people who I don't want to kiss, and I would have a visceral reaction to having done that. You know, like if somebody walked up to me, I'd be like, "Oh my god, oh my god," you know, like they're so you can make that joke, but oh my god, they make that joke for like 3 minutes. He does everything he possible, and then they keep beating it. It's like a dead horse. It's you can have a reaction, and that doesn't bother me because there are people who, when I think about like if somebody was like, "Do you want to kiss blank?" I'd be like, "Oh my, no, I don't want no, but oh my god, no," you know, like like you can still have a reaction to that. It doesn't necessarily mean, but at the same time, Jesus Christ, man, this is like way over. He's like shaking like cold in his shower. And, like he's like trying to like he has like a deep reaction to this, which is just far beyond anything I ever needed. So Ace Ventura Pet Detective. Not all anniversary reviews are necessarily going to be retrospectively wonderful. But how do I grade this? Part of me wants to say that there was a part of me that liked this film back in the day, and that age of me is saying, "Don't you dare, don't you dare, you fucker!" And I can't totally. I'm not going to firebomb a movie that, uh, for a chunk of my life, was the shit. Regretfully so. So there's no F here. That's not happening. Um, if I'm objectively looking at this versus the rest of Jim Carrey's film career, I don't think this is aged well. Even if you're somebody who doesn't mind the content, I still think there are better Jim Carrey films. I think he's worked his way into better films. And so again, if you were to say, well, who's this Jim Carrey guy? What, I want to know more about him. What would you recommend? I'm not going to recommend Ace Ventura, and not because necessarily of the phobic content, but really because I don't actually think it's his best movie. Even between the movies of 1994, I think The Mask is the better movie. I think Ace Ventura was just an exploration in just giving him sort of like a character that's so goofy with a plot that's so dumb that it'll make people laugh and go after this target demographic. It's kind of troubling that they felt like this had such a reaction with kids audience, that there was a cartoon. But then again, there were cartoons for a lot of things back in the day that there shouldn't have been a kids cartoon for Rambo. That was an R-rated movie. Like, why did they think that kids needed a Rambo cartoon? I mean, like, you can look back on so many things and be like, why is there a children's version of this? Like I had as toys growing up, and because sometimes, and it's not like my parents would have bought these for me, but you get birthday parties and kids bring you things. I had like toys from the Alien franchise, like action figures for kids. I'm just like, why are these here? This is an R-rated movie. Like, why? Who is this made for? Why is this in Toys R Us? So, just random things like that. Yeah, I had one of the aliens from Alien. Anyway, Ace Ventura. What do I do with you? I don't know. I'm gonna give it a C. That's sort of like I consider that my sort of like mid grade, like it neither thumbs up or thumbs down. Man, if I was a Rotten Tomatoes person, I think I'd go rotten. I think I would lean slightly rotten on this, where there is no mid. But it's mixing how how I felt sort of like the first time that I watched this, but when the first time I watched it, I was like 11, so no, people don't trust 11-year-old film critics. Like we're not meant to like go last throughout all of film time, but it did work for me the first time, unfortunately. So there's a lot here that's great. I'm not even like proud of the grade that I'm giving, but there are reasons why I feel like I can't go too low, and it has to do with yeah, the film worked the first time. Yes, I was young. Maybe the film will work for you when I would not recommend that you watch this. I think there are better Jim Carrey movies. Um, the second one doesn't have audio description that I know of, so you can't even finish the franchise. If you're blind and visually impaired, you're like, oh my God. I haven't even found When Nature Calls with audio description. So just watch a fucking different Jim Carrey movie, man. This Dumb and Dumber also, it's like the same. He had a big year. There's so many other things that you can watch with Jim Carrey in it that is not this and are better films, and don't uh send Sean Young into a spiral that she'll never recover from. So, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.